Good morning, everyone. What a wonderful opportunity to introduce us to our most recent publication, What Works for Africa's Poorest Children, From Measurement to Action. A real bold statement to take the narrative away from quantifying and magnifying socioeconomic problems affecting children in Africa to really striving towards practical actions in a way that programs have demonstrated to be effective vis-a-vis the reduction of poverty and vulnerability that burdens the lives of children and prevents them from growing to their full potential. What Works for Africa's Poorest Children, our publication, was really born out of an idea to organize an international conference in Kampala, Uganda. The conference was organized in 2018 and took place in September 2018, and over 60 brilliant authors and co-authors came to Kampala to present a wide array of publications around 4 key thematic areas of social policy that are important in Uganda, but most importantly on the continent. The first area that we decided to explore was the measurement of poverty and vulnerability. The second area that we chose to explore was the impact and strength of social protection systems when it comes to child-sensitive approaches to alleviating vulnerability and poverty on children and their immediate communities. The third area, a less traditional one in this space of policy engagement, was public financial management. And last but not least, child rights, as in the ability and the effectiveness of host governments to implement the CRC and to fully implement the strategies and policies that at national level are designed to cater for the needs of young and vulnerable children. Let me give you a little bit of insight as to some of the publications included in this manuscript, and maybe I'll use 2 specific examples. One focused on the measurement of poverty, and one that touches on public financial management to see how effective public financial management can indeed make for a more efficient delivery of basic services affecting children. But first things first. When it comes to measurement, countries like Uganda, which is a perfect example, have 3 decades of an extremely rich tradition of poverty measurement. This poverty measurement and analysis that informs policy is firmly grounded on measurements of poverty through a monetary lens. So one of the chapters in the book, chapter 2 in particular, explores the integration of multidimensional poverty measurement approaches into national statistics and the integration of multidimensional child poverty into national statistics by way of digging a little bit deeper and finding and exploring the nuances that truly can help us identify policy interventions to push the agenda further, to meet or come close to meeting the Sustainable Development Goals. How does Chapter 2 explain this transition in Uganda? Well, over the past couple of years, the Uganda Bureau of Statistics successfully integrated the consensual approach and multidimensional child poverty module into an already complex Uganda National Household Survey. Of course, these reforms don't happen overnight. So leading on to the full integration, there was a very successful pilot test of the consensual approach in the Uganda National Panel Survey. The approach has now been widely validated and has been even applied in non-traditional contexts to enable us to understand what the situation of children is in host and refugee communities. Those of you listening to this video might know that over the last couple of years, Uganda has become the one country on the continent with the largest number of refugees. And in a very compelling way, in a very admirable way, because refugees have always been welcomed and they have full access to national services across a broad spectrum of services ranging from health to education. Let me now move on to public financial management. What does Chapter 13 tell us about the importance of public financial management systems vis-a-vis the delivery of basic services like health or education? Historically, traditionally, many host governments, including many countries on the African continent, have harnessed the monitoring and the assessment of the delivery of their services on key outputs. What that means is that district local governments would set out to build a certain number of classrooms or rehabilitate a certain number of health facilities. And then at the end of the year, they would be assessed on their ability to do so. So classrooms kept getting built and health facilities kept getting rehabilitated. But in those very districts, we are not really observing key improvements in the outcomes that are supposed to be driven by those outputs. In Uganda, for instance, the classrooms were not yielding higher completion rates or better test results for the young boys and girls who were sitting national examinations. So with the Ministry of Finance in Uganda, UNICEF set out to develop what has now been framed as the Uganda National Equity Atlas, which is an effort to marry outcome and financial data at district level to see what these local government investments are yielding vis-a-vis national outcomes that are destined to take Uganda onto its development trajectory to become a middle-income country over the next couple of decades, as per Vision 2040. I will simply stop there, and I just want to reiterate the importance of this publication at a time of uncertainty in the world, at a time where children and adolescents' hopes and aspirations are faced with a cloud of uncertainty, a big question mark. What has the pandemic done to their dreams and aspirations? We don't know. Time will tell. But what we do know is that we do have concerted and very strategic, programmatic efforts that have worked. And with the investments in the right places and with the right checks and balances to deliver quality services, we can capitalize and scale up some of the programs showcased in this publication to make a real difference, to bring social impact into a continent that is projected and expected to be the future of humankind, the future of the global economy, and most importantly, to bring a better future to the lives of children and adolescents that currently represent the vast majority of the African population. With this, I thank you. I want to thank our publishers, Practical Action, and all authors and co-authors that have made this book a possibility. What works for Africa's poorest children, from measurement to action?